Sudan's colonization and path to independence. Sudan's history of colonization and independence is marked by foreign rule, resistance movements, and complex ethnic divisions that shaped the country's modern struggles. 1. Pre-colonial Sudan before 1820. Sudan was home to ancient civilizations like Kush and Nubia, which had strong ties to Egypt. The region was influenced by Islamic and Arab migration from the 7th century onward. Multiple independent kingdoms existed, including the Fungi Sultanate, 1504 to 1821, which controlled much of Sudan. 2. Egyptian Ottoman rule, 1820 to 1885. In 1820, Muhammad Ali Pasha, the ruler of Egypt under the Ottoman Empire, invaded Sudan to control resources and expand Egypt's territory. This period saw harsh taxation and forced labor on the Sudanese population. Slave trade expansion, as Sudan became a major supplier of enslaved Africans, rebellions and resistance from local tribes and religious leaders. 3. The Mahdist Revolt and independent Sudanese rule, 1881 to 1898. In 1881, a Sudanese leader, Muhammad Ahmad, declared himself the Mahdi, Islamic messianic figure, and led a rebellion against Egyptian and British forces. His followers, the Ansar Mahdists, successfully captured Khartoum in 1885, leading to the killing of British General Charles Gordon and expulsion of foreign rule. Establishment of the Mahdist state, 1885 to 1898, under Islamic rule. The Mahdist government was unstable due to internal conflicts and famine. 4. Anglo-Egyptian rule, 1899 to 1956. The Condominium. In 1898, Britain and Egypt invaded Sudan again and defeated the Mahdists at the Battle of Omdurman. Sudan was placed under joint British-Egyptian rule, but in reality Britain controlled most policies. Key events under British rule. Divide and rule policy. Britain separated northern and southern Sudan, restricting interactions. The North Arab Muslim was developed, while the South, Christian animist, was neglected. Economic exploitation. The British expanded cotton plantations to supply British textile industries. Little investment in infrastructure or education for Sudanese people. Sudanese nationalism grows, 1920s to 1950s. The White Flag League, 1924, led early nationalist protests. Egyptian Revolution, 1952, inspired calls for Sudan's independence. 5. Sudan's path to independence, 1953 to 1956. 1953, Britain and Egypt agreed to grant Sudan self-rule. 1955, a southern rebellion, first signs of the civil war, erupted due to fears of northern Arab domination. January 1st, 1956, Sudan officially gained independence from British-Egyptian rule. Summary of key periods. 1. 1888-85, Egypt Ottoman rule, harsh policies, forced labour. 2. 1885 to 1898, Mahdist state, Sudan briefly independent but unstable. 3. 1899 to 1956, British-Egyptian rule, economic exploitation, resistance movements. 4. 1956, Sudan gains independence. Sudan. Economy, poverty, crime and migration. CO1, GDP of Sudan. Sudan's GD3, estimated at 34 to 38 billion. GDP per capita, around 800 to 1,000, making it one of the lowest in the world. Main economic sectors, agriculture, oil, mining and services. 2. Average income in Sudan. Men's average income to $2,500 per year, varies by industry. Women's average income, $700 to $1,800 per year, reflecting gender wage gaps. Informal sector workers, many Sudanese earn far less due to informal labour. 3. Causes of poverty in Sudan. Sudan suffers from extreme poverty due to a combination of historical, economic, political and environmental factors. A. Political instability and conflict. Sudan. Economy, poverty, crime and migration. CO1, GDP of Sudan. Sudan's GD3, estimated at 34 to 38 billion. GDP per capita, around 800 to 1,000, making it one of the lowest in the world. Main economic sectors, agriculture, oil, mining and services. 2. Average income in Sudan. Men's average income to $2,500 per year, varies by industry. Women's average income, $700 to $1,800 per year, reflecting gender wage gaps. Informal sector workers, many Sudanese earn far less due to informal labour. 3. Causes of poverty in Sudan. Sudan suffers from extreme poverty due to a combination of historical, economic, political and environmental factors. A. Political instability and conflict. Sudan has faced multiple civil wars, including the Darfur conflict and South Sudan secession 2011, which weakened the economy. Military coups and corruption have damaged investment and governance. The 2023 war between the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, has devastated cities, destroyed infrastructure and displaced millions. B. Economic mismanagement and sanctions. US sanctions, 1990s to 2017, and international restrictions due to Sudan's support for terrorism, past links to Osama bin Laden, isolated its economy. Loss of oil revenues after South Sudan's independence, 2011, left the economy heavily dependent on agriculture. Severe inflation. Sudan's currency devalues rapidly, making essentials unaffordable. C. Climate change and agriculture struggles. Droughts and desertification damage agriculture, the main livelihood of 80% of Sudanese. Floods and locust plagues further harm food security. D. Lack of infrastructure and education. Poor roads, electricity, water and hospitals prevent economic development. Education levels are low, limiting skilled workforce potential. E. High unemployment and informal labour. Official unemployment rate is 30+%, but informal employment is extremely high. Most people survive through small-scale farming, street vending or manual labour. 4. Crime in Sudan. Crime rate. Sudan's crime rates are high due to economic hardship, weak law enforcement and political instability. Most common crimes. 1. Theft and robbery. Street crime is high in cities. 2. Kidnappings and human trafficking, especially in conflict zones. 3. Bribery and corruption, rampant in government and police forces. 4. Homicides and violent crime due to tribal conflicts and war. 5. Smuggling and drug trade. Weapons and drugs move across Sudan's porous borders. 5. Employment in Sudan. Most common jobs: agriculture, 40 to 50%, farming, sorghum, millet, wheat and livestock. Informal sector, 30%, street vendors, manual labourers, domestic workers. Mining and oil, 10%. Gold mining is a major industry, often illegal. Public sector and military, 10%, government jobs, police and armed forces. 6. Education in Sudan. Average education level, 6 to 8 years. Many drop out before secondary school. Literacy rate, 60 to 70%, with men having higher literacy than women. Higher education, only 10 to 15% attend university. 7. IQ in Sudan. Estimated average IQ, 70 to 80, varies by region and education level. Low education access and poor nutrition contribute to lower cognitive development. 8. Sudanese migration trends. Rate of Sudanese leaving the country. 5+ million Sudanese have migrated due to conflict and economic struggles. 20% of university graduates leave Sudan for better opportunities. Main countries Sudanese migrate to. 1. Egypt, largest Sudanese diaspora. 2. Saudi Arabia and Gulf states, employment opportunities. 3. Europe, especially the UK, Germany and France. 4. United States and Canada, refugees and skilled workers. Like Sudanese people in America. NAS 9. Crime rate of Sudanese people in America. Crime rates among Sudanese immigrants are lower than the US national average. Sudanese Americans often live in tight-knit communities with strong religious and family values, reducing criminal involvement. Common crimes among Sudanese in the US. Low levels of violent crime, but some involvement in fraud and financial crimes due to economic struggles. Gang-related activity among some second-generation Sudanese youth in urban areas. 10. Employment and unemployment rate for Sudanese in America. Unemployment rate, around 7 to 10%, higher than the national average. Many Sudanese immigrants work low-wage jobs, often in warehouses, transportation and service industries. Some Sudanese professionals work in healthcare, engineering and academia. 11. Education levels of Sudanese in America. Varies by generation. First-generation Sudanese, many have basic education or vocational training. Second-generation Sudanese, higher rates of college education compared to their parents. University attendance rate, 30 to 40%, higher than in Sudan. 12. Legal versus illegal Sudanese population in America. Majority are legal immigrants. Many Sudanese come as refugees, asylum seekers or on work visas. Some enter illegally, but the numbers are small compared to other immigrant groups. Legal versus illegal ratio. 85 to 90% legal, 10 to 15% may be undocumented. Conclusion. Sudan struggles with extreme poverty, high crime and political instability, forcing millions to migrate. Most Sudanese in America are legal, law-abiding and hard-working, though they face higher unemployment and economic struggles.